Hi, welcome back. I know it's been a while since we've posted, but we have moved. As you can see, our location's a little different. So thank you for tuning in today, and we will continue our podcast here every week, even though we're still in the process of moving. But we promise to finish
Try to
up
catch
this
up, yeah.
series, right? So today, what
Today it's the prayer of gratitude, or the
gratitude.
gratitude prayer,
Very nice.
whatever. Yeah, it's basically a prayer that was given by Yeshua to Eliazar, the Apostle John, but that prayer was never published.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we're gonna give it.
You have to wonder why. Okay.
Right. It's a very nice prayer, I think. So anyway, last time we talked about Yeshua trying to recover from his ailment and wounds and everything,
right.
in the barns.
It's been a long process
hiding.
for him.
Yes, it is still a long process for him. Yeah. And at the end, he basically decided to take a mule, and he had a trip to Migdal, right, where he spends one last night with his beloved Miriam and a few of his closest disciples. And again, we will show a map of what he has been doing after his crucifixion, inside the land of Palestine and Judea. And on that morning, Yeshua wants to do this last trip in Galilee by himself. He's alone in the countryside, His only companion is that mule that is carrying him, and he has basically asked the mule and programmed her to take him to the Krmel School of Mysteries.
Oh, those mules are smart.
They are smart, yes. And because of his physical weakness, Yeshua needs his solitude more than ever. He doesn't have the energy to spend and talk to other people and stuff like that. Yeah. And that solitude gives him the internal dialogue with the universe, with God, which is so important for him.
For all of us.
Yeah, you're right. So through each breath that he's taking, he is receiving this universal energy, which is helping him, heal from the horrible crucifixion. Yeah. And finally, the moment to knock on the heavy and tall doors of the Krmel School of Mysteries arrives, And so he knocks on the big door, but nobody is answering immediately, And Yeshua at that point, raised his head, and he sees 2 or 3 heads on top of the walls, looking at him from the top of the walls, they're wondering who is coming to disturb the peace of that place so late in the day, Actually, it's almost nighttime, And finally, a door will open, and a monk dressed in white, because they are the Essenian fraternity, right, listens to Yeshua and let him enter in the courtyard. So, and he goes, "You're not a wanderer, you," says the monks, after bringing a lamp close to Yeshua's face. He wants to see his face. And Yeshua asks to see the Venerable, basically the chief of the school at that point. And the monk responds, "Wow, nothing else? Tonight? I don't even know who you are or why I opened the gate." And Yeshua responds,
"We know why."
"Yeah, my name is of no importance. It is probably better that you do not know it. Just know that I lived within these walls in the past, and that I am asking for the asylum." So the monk responds, "You will stay in the courtyard where we tie the animals. There is hay on the ground, and you can sleep there. There is also some water. We will see you tomorrow." And Yeshua is actually very happy of that proposal,
He likes being with the animals.
Yes,
right?
he likes to be with the animal, and he wants to be by himself. He's only aspiring to the silence too. Doesn't want to have, to talk about anything else to other monks.
Right.
But to pimp a little bit the rough hospitality, a monk brings finally to Yeshua a bowl of soup made with fava beans.
His favorites, isn't
Yeah.
it? One of his favorites.
So on that night, Yeshua is going to sleep perfectly, as he's really exhausted, by the recovery and also by the long trip. and he's waked up in the morning by the morning gong. They have all these rituals, probably like 4 or 5 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And so he walks to the main room, and he's the last to enter the room, which is actually perfect for him because he's taking a spot on the back wall. He didn't want to draw any attention to him, and nobody would ask any questions also. And so the rituals of the Krmel are unrolling, and it's coming back to his memory. I mean, we can, for the audience that have not followed our episodes, I mean, Yeshua was in the Krmel School of Mystery from the age of 6 years old all the way to 13 years old. So he spent close to 6-7 years in that place, learning a lot of things. And but somehow, all the rituals that he's seeing are not matching his universe anymore. The place itself seemed a lot smaller than when he was a kid.
It's always that way, right?
It's always that way. Yeah.
You go back, it's like, oh, I remember being this small.
And he's thinking, too many lives, too many locations, too many faces and horizons have passed in front of my eyes, and he's even wondering why he came back here. At one point, was it because he was trying to escape the Romans? Was he trying to escape the Sanhedrin, the riots, the weight of all the things he had generated? It's really difficult for him. So at one point, the massive amount of incense in the room causes Yeshua to start coughing. And after the torture of the crucifixion, it is hard for him to actually withstand the smell of resin and burning. I mean, obviously this stuff affected his lungs.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And so his coughing is disturbing a few people, and it's also attracting the attention to him, right? And some faces are looking at him. Even the Venerable, the head of the school, raises his head. He's in the front, of course, and he looks at Yeshua. And Yeshua's eyes are immediately capturing the Venerable's eyes. He wants to communicate with him through the gaze. And Yeshua is sure to know that man. And retrospectively, the Venerable looks at Yeshua sporadically until the end of the litanies. He's also wondering, I think I know that man. And some monks are looking at Yeshua with repulsion, because he's wearing a dirty brown robe, which is in contrast to the white robe of the Essenian fraternities, right?
And I guess he didn't get a chance. You know how he always cleaned his...
Yes, no, this is all dirty. He also have dirty band-aids on his wrists and the feet, Yeah. So for the other monks, it is absolutely inconceivable that you could be in their presence, in that place, not being perfectly clean and everything. Yeah. And while trying to raise himself with difficulty, Yeshua hears some nasty comments about him. So the other monks are criticizing, that poor wretch sitting in the back.
I just wouldn't expect monks to be doing that.
Yeah, you wonder. Things have changed. We're going to talk about that. Yeah.
Okay.
So Yeshua does not have time to respond to them as the Venerable is approaching him. And with a stuttering and raspy voice, the Venerable is asking everyone to exit the room. He wants everyone out of the room. And at that point, the old Venerable stands in front of Yeshua. He's crossing his arms on his chest, and he asks, tell me who you are. Tell me so that I am sure to not be wrong. What is the name behind these eyes? And Yeshua responds, I lived here a long time ago, and I was called Yeshua. So at that point, the Venerable is stunned. Of course, he remembers him. Yeah. And after a moment, he grabs one hand of Yeshua, he pushes the sleeves out of his wrist, revealing the wrist with blood still oozing. And this is the left wrist, the one that Nathaniel tried to pierce, to puncture, but missed his stuff. And for some reason, that wrist does not heal.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So there is something karmic again, And so the Venerable looks at his wrist and says, so it was true. Are you really Yeshua, the one we call the Christ, the Blessed One? Is it really you? And at that point, Yeshua is taking the face of Venerable between his hands, and he said, words can fool those who do not see, my brother, but the eyes speak truth to those who can hear. You used to be Brother Joaquim, right? I still remember the Greek lessons with you. And again, I would encourage our audience, if you have not followed us, I think it is episode number 6, where we talk at great lengths about Joaquim and Yeshua and what Joaquim is teaching him. And the Greek was one of the first matter that he was teaching.
Oh,
There was
okay.
like an entire week of Greek, and then there would be another week studying plants, and then we would go back to an entire week of Greek. That's how they were teaching.
Oh, okay.
Not 45 minutes or an hour of a certain subject. Yeah.
That's what I would need. I would need a week.
Yes. So at that point, the Venerable is just a river of tears, and Yeshua hugs him as long as his strength allows him, And both men are actually so happy to have found each other again, So again, Joaquim was a Greek teacher, but he was also an expert in botanical matters. So for many years, Joaquim has been teaching Yeshua a lot of things. I mean, Greek, botanical matters, but also other things. And again, this is all described in episode 6, if I remember. So after a long moment, Joaquim takes Yeshua to his cell, the cell that all leaders of the Carmel have been living in. And of course, Yeshua had a lot of memories in that place, although he never resided there, but he was frequently going in. And Joaquim says, if everything I heard is true, what are you doing here? And if you can confirm to me that you're the blessed one, the Christ, some are saying that he recovered his life. How could I not be at your feet and not let you lead the Krmel School?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Because, of course, he's much more advanced than anybody else,
Right.
And Yeshua responds, Brother Joaquim, you already have the answer, since your heart recognized me. For you, I do not want to be more than Brother Yeshua. You deserve the role that you have. It is in complete secret that I am back on top of this hill. Do you see? In the most complete secret. And it is in the same secret that I am now asking you for asylum, indefinitely. I no longer want to travel, and I simply want to use my soul and my spirit. And Joaquim is a little bit surprised. He says, do you mean that your task is complete in this world? And Yeshua responds, no, it cannot be. It cannot be, because
he did a lot.
The living sowed so much through me, and a lot is growing. It's like plants, right? They put the germs, they put the seeds in the ground, so now it's growing. And Joaquim explains in a few words that he knows actually very little about the work of Yeshua and what he had done. And of course, those are monks. They are protected by the walls of the Carmel, and they had heard about a tall rabbi in white who was trekking the country, doing miracles and being presented as the Messiah. But they never looked more into it, They never came out of their fortress, literally, to find out more about that. And at times, Joaquim had hoped that this rabbi was his old student Yeshua, but he was not sure. So in the Carmel, they all had taken the vow to live outside of the world, and not worry about the wars, the emperors, the Romans, and all this stuff.
Can we do that too?
I wish. And he goes, thus, you want to live here among us? Will you accept to teach us? And Yeshua responds, teach you? And the Venerable realized that he made a mistake, He says, forgive me, no, I think that nothing can be taught here. With your gaze and eyes, Master, a lot of things have changed in this place after you left. Those who were awake left for the most, and something withered. It is almost like the walls of that school had become thicker and higher. preventing the sunshine from entering them.
Oh.
Yeah. So, the school had basically lost its energy, its momentum,
Right.
And
Well, things kind of get sucked back in, right?
yeah, well, it cycles,
Mm-hmm.
And Joaquim continues and he says, the day I had to sit and become the Venerable, I realized that all that I wondered if would not be the last of that lineage, in fact. And he tells Yeshua, in fact, we are afraid of life. They are so secluded, they never get in contact with the outside world, with the
Right.
reality.
Yeah.
So he's very honest. He tells them, we are afraid of life.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
yeah, Yeshua listened to Brother Joaquim and instinctively knew about what Joaquim was saying, He's taking Joaquim's hand, and without wanting it, some salt comes out of Yeshua's hand. And Joaquim is very stupefied because he had never seen such miracle. So, he's pouring some salt into his hands. And the interesting part is that Yeshua is very touched to have been called master by the man who used to be his master.
Right.
So now I guess they have been exchanging roles.
Passing the torch.
Yeah, passing the torch, yeah. So again, Yeshua asked Joaquim, I'm only asking you a small cell, my brother. From now on, I beg you, do not see in me anything more than a simple disciple of life. So in the evening, Yeshua finds himself in the same room where he used to live for 6 years when he was a kid.
Oh my gosh.
And he's very happy because that cell is actually secluded. It's like, at the end of a hallway. And it allows him an easy access to a large terrace, which is located on the top of a tower overlooking the sea.
Oh, nice.
So he has his own terrace, I would say,
Right.
almost,
Yeah.
with all the seagulls and the birds, coming and everything.
Sounds of the waves.
Yeah, the sounds of the waves and the wind and the fragrance of the sea. So, and Yeshua in the past always enjoyed that terrace with the large tiles, heated by the sun, and the wind bringing the fragrance of the sea and all the birds, So you wonder if he's going to live here again, and if he was made actually for such a recluse life, at one point. So the first few nights in the Krmel are spent in interrogations. So he's not rejecting his decision to disappear and the multitude of reasons that justified his conduct, But he's also wondering about the difficult task he's leaving to all his disciples that he loved so much and who had given him their heart and destiny. Yeah. His mother, his beloved Miriam, Eliazar, and all the other close disciples. And Yeshua prays a lot. He's drowning himself in the sun until his body, little by little, recover his strength. Takes a long time. And he spends a lot of time traveling in the astral realm because he doesn't travel physically, right? He travels in his light body in the astral plane. And everywhere he feels the calling, he will go.
Yeah.
So, of course, it was Jerusalem calling him, right? But it was also Joppe. It was also Ramatahim, where the home of Uncle Yusuf has been vandalized by the Romans. Yeah.
Looking for him.
Yeah, they were still looking for him. It was also the place of Jericho and the shores of the lake in Gennesaret, the village of Capharnaum, the Bethsaida, Migdal, again, where the Romans are desperately searching everywhere. And Yeshua watches, sticks, poles, and swords being raised. He sees gaze full of peace, begging hands, but also roars of exalted fools, opportunists, and always the tricks of the zealots. Yeah. Those are
They're still very
relentless.
tricky.
Yep. So between two escapes in the astral realm again, he sees Peter and Barthélemy haranguing the crowds of public places. Those two are very energetic. Eliazar the Apostle John, on the other hand, is gathering all the pearls and repeating Yeshua's words, but in a more moderated way. And he's also watching Miriam, his wife, and Miriam, his mother, and he sees Uncle Yusuf begging them to remain hidden to escape the Romans. And all the other disciples were trying to offer a pure and simple love to whoever wanted to listen to them, but their life is really hard. And we are going to understand why. And who is pushing for all these massacres and cruelty? And above all, Yeshua is feeling permanently the heavy responsibilities of his disciples. I mean, for him, he's like a father having sent all his children out.
And then having to witness that, and
yes,
that's hard.
It is hard.
And he's still trying to heal. And
yeah, exactly. So he's going to spend months in this way, and he's getting out of his body to watch and protect what could be done. Trying to guide sometimes, through dreams or through whispering into the messages into the mind of his disciples. He's always eating alone in his cell, and according to Joaquim the Venerable, the entire group of monks, both the adults and the children, had basically learned to not ask any question regarding the identity of Yeshua.
Oh,
yeah, it's like it did not exist.
Yeah.
And sometimes he walks in the countryside, and occasionally he's tasting the wine that they are producing locally by the brothers. The wine was good, but not enough to erase the bitterness of what was happening everywhere else.
Yeah.
So one day in fall, Eliazar comes to visit Yeshua. And Eliazar is one of the very rare people to know where Yeshua is located. And he's also probably even less people who are able to visit him, because again, this is a convent or a monastery for men, right? So women would not be allowed, right?
Right.
And so I guess besides Eliazar, probably Uncle Yusuf knows where he is, but that's pretty much it, yeah. And so Eliazar is exalted and beaten at the same time. He's exalted to see Yeshua, but he's also depressed, feeling that communicating to others, other people, is very difficult. And for Eliazar, the height of his ideal and desire is sending him back in the inevitable image of living in the three-dimensional world.
Oh, yeah.
But it's still very, very difficult. And Yeshua is trying to instill in Eliazar a feeling of gratitude, and he's going to give him a prayer of gratitude, which we will read it at the end of the presentation. And again, I will try to post it on the description on YouTube, so that people can refer to it. And Eliazar is going to copy meticulously that prayer on a palm leaf with some ink and a stylet, So we don't know what that prayer has become, in the future. I mean, but we will be happy to give it to you. So Yeshua is touched to see his disciples so attentive and meticulous, It was as if Eliazar had found a treasure, the most beautiful treasure of the world in that prayer.
Yeah.
And Eliazar goes, "Why don't you write, Master? I have never seen you write anything. You still have so many gems to give us. Now that we are alone, write, please. At least give us something written by your hand, from your heart, on a palm roll." And Yeshua responds, "You, Eliazar, you will write." And we know that the Apostle John wrote a few things, the gospel, but I'm afraid that very few was taken in the Bible, right?
Right.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. And Yeshua tells Eliazar, "They will copy you, recopy you, to the point of amputating and distorting what you write."
I guess he knew.
He knew, yeah. So again, for our audience, nothing has ever been written by Yeshua. The only thing he wrote was on a stone, on a piece of rock in Tibet. after he did his long retreat in the Himalayas,
Right.
and he wrote, "Here lived Yeshe, Ishe, Ishe." That they could not pronounce Yeshua properly, so they call him Ishe.
Ishe.
Yeah. So here lived Ishe.
Mm.
So I don't know if that stone has ever been found, but
Mhm.
that's the only stuff he wrote in his entire life.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, according to the
Yeah, because there are
Akashic
the red
records.
letters of the Bible
Yeah,
that
of
talk.
course. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure
So
that people have found stuff, but
yeah.
are they really true letters
I
or
don't
just
know. Maybe.
yeah,
Could be.
maybe not. Yeah. And then Yeshua continues, regarding what I'm going to give you, they will not need my ink to shrink and modify it. In truth, only the ones that know how to decipher the memories of my heart will benefit from the readings. Do you understand? And Eliazar understands very well what Yeshua is saying, Invariably, you need a large space of freedom between the words of a messenger and the listening ears, right? You need some space. Behind the written signs, there will always be the lack of a free thought. And that's why he doesn't want to write.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And Eliazar says, yes, I believe I can understand, but we need so much support. Our memories are so fragile. And Yeshua respond to him, your remembrance are fragile, my brother, not your memory. As far as support, its strength resides in the spontaneous prayer. A prayer which is not a begging or a request, but must remain like flowing water.
Oh.
Yep.
It's beautiful.
Yep. You know, Eliazar, that water that helps mill turns, right? It's what we call the living water, right? The flowing water. And Eliazar says, this is what I'm telling them all, Master, the prayer. But pray whom? Do they always ask me? It is difficult because God is not a person. And it's true, right? For a human being, it's difficult to
really to
picture anything
conceive
else.
that.
Yeah.
I know. It really is.
And Yeshua responds, he is not a person in truth. However, it does not mean that he is nothing. To pray is to connect to the ocean of universal consciousness. A consciousness which is not human, but is an infinite intelligence, infinitely compassionate, in which we are all bathing and participating. What we call the eternal or the divine is the result of billions and billions of forms of consciousness, which are immersed in the living and created that will, the karmic will, that power that we call life. It grows still and always beyond all limits. Yes, Eliazar, we are all part of the divine mechanics, and we are feeding it. And Awun, God, is one of the closest masks to our heart. Make sure you teach this, right? What we call God, or what they called Awun at that time, is just a mask to try to picture this infinite creation, right?
It's so, beyond our scope of.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we have the
understanding.
Right.
Yeah.
And Eliazar responds, and if I don't have the right words, and Yeshua tells him, words do not mean anything by themselves. What makes them powerful is the intent and the vibrations of the messenger. So true, right?
Yeah, very true.
Do you remember when I was telling you about the beauty and the power of those songs in the East that they call mantras? The important is not what you can grasp intellectually. The important is the sound they sculpt in the depths of your body. And that's how you can gain healing,
Right. Right. Raise consciousness.
Consciousness, yeah. Eliazar, to pray is similar to create our own mantras and not to unroll a list of requests. It is to energize our essential being, to tune it to the universal being. So at one point, so they basically they meet for a few hours, and Yeshua had hoped that Eliazar would speak about himself, of the way his heart was beating for humans, and perhaps even of his attraction for men that he had avowed, he had confessed to Yeshua once.
Mm-hmm.
But Eliazar did not speak at all about himself, and Yeshua respected that choice. He realized that Eliazar had grown considerably and perhaps too quickly, as he was in charge of a large community of souls now. He has a lot of disciples himself. And Eliazar tells Yeshua, Peter is nothing more than an impetuous and bully teenager for me. And the same is true of Barthélemy and Andrew. The other disciples, Eliazar was thinking that they were not dedicated enough. They were too light and not audacious. However, he said, all the women are fantastic in their role. Yep.
Oh.
He was very respectful and very appreciative of that. And Eliazar tells Yeshua about all the little stories and gossips of the disciples, And of course, Yeshua is guessing that small groups, some kind of clans or cliques, are being created.
Still today.
Yeah. And he had anticipated all that, but it was inevitable. Yeah. And when Eliazar leaves the Carmel at the end of the day, Yeshua gets the feeling that they will not meet again before a long time. They will meet again. We will see when, but it will be a while before they do. And during his meditation, a voice, most likely from Elohim, is warning Yeshua about all the events which are taking place in Palestine and Judea. Yeah, his disciples are being chased, beaten, and even massacred. And Yeshua is ready to receive all this, in his heart, but it's still very hard. And the Venerable visits Yeshua in his cells, on a regular basis, and they spend some time together from time to time, and he's bringing him a fruit when they have some, which is not very often, and it was a pure gesture of love,
Yeah.
So about 3 years are going to pass in the silence of the Carmel walls. So few things are reported that it was almost worrisome. Finally, one day, a letter from Uncle Yusuf is given to Yeshua. And Yusuf is really worried for Miriam, the mother, and Miriam, the wife of Yeshua. And what is happening is that the Romans are escaping Pilate's control. And so they are trying to find the two women and accuse them of having organized Yeshua's disappearance.
Oh.
So those two women are also charged of being the cause of all the turmoils that was happening in Jerusalem. Of course, yeah, it's
they
so
got to
simple,
find
right?
somebody. Yeah,
you have
if
to
it's
find
them.
a patsy, right?
Right,
and
exactly.
it was those two women, yeah. So Uncle Yusuf wanted to take Miriam away from Palestine, using one of his ships. And for Miriam, the wife, it was more difficult to convince her to leave. She's a rebel and she doesn't want to.
She wants to be there and hopefully find him again.
And that's where we are introducing Saul, known as Paul, the former husband of Miriam and father of her son Marcus, is openly fighting against all the disciples and the people using Yeshua teachings. He's basically using the Roman forces to come to his hands. And I think it's important to realize that the man who wrote the Bible, or 90% of it, right? Paul, Saul of Tarsus, is the one who has been relentlessly using the Roman forces to destroy the disciples as much as possible. I think it's so important to realize that, right?
I think it'd be very hard for some Christians to realize that was even.
So after reading that letter, Yeshua placed the letter on the floor of the cell and says, "Oh Saul, what are you doing?
What have you done?
What have you done?" Yeah. And Yeshua had never met that man, but his soul was convinced to know him, right? So we're going to get in the next episode in great details about what Saul is doing, all the atrocities that he's commanding, because he's a Roman citizen. He has an enormous influence on the Romans.
That's too bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we will describe also more things about his character and his personality. And we're going to also talk about the encounter of Yeshua and Saul.
Yeah. All right. Interesting.
But I think it's important to keep in mind, where this man is coming from is at the root of the Bible. 90% of it, is coming from his own writings.
I mean, some churches are all about Paul.
Yes.
Like they forget about Yeshua,
Yes.
Jesus.
Yeah. Only Paul counts. Yeah.
Only Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if only they knew, what kind of man he is. Yeah. So as promised, I'm gonna read you the gratitude prayer. Father, I thank you for the gift of sight. Grant that I may be worthy of it and see beyond what there is to look at. Father, I thank you for the gift of hearing. Grant that I may use it to hear your voice, hidden behind all that is said. Father, I thank you for the gift of speech. Grant that I may bring it to life so as to sing of your presence in all things. Father, I thank you for the gift of touch. Grant that I may always recognize the warmth of your life at the heart of all that beats or seems to sleep. Father, I thank you for the gift that allows me to smell the 100,000 fragrances of this world. Grant that I may remember your essence with every breath of my chest and of my soul. Father, I thank you for all the strength with which you have endowed me. Through them, may my steps always know where to go, and may my heart never forget the direction you have inscribed within it. Strengthen my will, that it may be said that the flame within me never wavers. Father, I thank you for the obstacles you make mine, for I know that it is your will that my eyes unite all things, that my ears hear only your breath, that my lips speak only what is just, that my hand weave only life, and that my nostrils perceive only your fragrance within this world. Father, I thank you for your high standards, so that you continually remind me to take only a fair measure of what is offered to me, and to have the clarity always to find happiness in it.
That's beautiful. That's a really beautiful prayer.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that.
You're most welcome. So our next episode will be all about Saul of Tarsus.
Oh,
the Apostle Paul.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be interesting, and I hope you all come back and tune in.